Let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
He was a political force, an influencer, a young father, now gone in a single tragic act. What if I told you that a shot fired at a university event has sent shockwaves through the political establishment, not just in America, but around the world? This is more than a crime, it's a political flashpoint. And today we're going to unpack how this happened, who might be responsible, why this matters, and what it could mean for democracy itself. Charlie Kirk, at just 31 years old, was the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative youth activist organization that had become a powerful force in American politics. From the age of 18, he was on a mission to galvanize young Americans in conservative causes. To some, he was a hero and mentor, helping conservatives find their voice in a world they felt was dominated by liberal narratives. To others, he was a deeply polarizing figure, a man accused of stoking division and fueling culture wars. Regardless of where people stood on him, Charlie Kirk was undeniable, a presence, a name, and a growing figure in the conservative movement. His campus events drew crowds of supporters and critics alike, and his appearances were always charged with strong reactions. On September 10, 2025 at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, Kirk was speaking at one of those events. It was part of what he called his Prove Me Wrong tour, a format designed to spark debate and challenge opposing views in real time. At about 12:20 in the afternoon, while speaking outdoors in front of students, the unimaginable happened. A single shot rang out. Kirk was struck. Emergency responders rushed him to a hospital, but it was too late. Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead, sending his supporters, his family, and the political world into shock. The details of the shooting are both chilling and puzzling. According to investigators, the shooter had positioned themselves in a stairwell of a nearby building and then made their way up to the roof. From that elevated position, the gunman fired downward at the event. After the shot, the suspect fled quickly off campus into a nearby neighborhood, vanishing before law enforcement could close in. Despite the presence of campus security and at least 6 police officers, the attack was carried out with chilling precision. The FBI quickly took the lead in the investigation, working alongside Utah law enforcement. They released images of a person of interest, someone who appears to be college-aged, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, captured in a stairwell camera shortly before the attack. A reward of up to $100,000 has been offered for information leading to the identification and arrest of the suspect. It is a full-scale manhunt, with the shooter still at large. The gun itself was discovered not long after the attack. Investigators found a high-powered bolt-action rifle, an older model Mauser .30-06, wrapped in a towel, hidden in a wooded area near the scene. Alongside it were both spent and unspent cartridges. But what really caught attention were markings on some of the unspent rounds, words and phrases referencing transgender identity and anti-fascist causes. Were these an expression of ideology? Were they clues to the shooter's motives? Or were they intentionally planted to throw investigators off? That's one of the many unanswered questions hanging over this case. Forensic teams have gone further, collecting potential DNA, fingerprints, footwear impressions, even a palm print and a forearm impression left at the scene. Each clue could bring investigators closer to identifying the shooter, but so far, no arrest has been made. The reactions to Kirk's killing have been as dramatic as the event itself. Utah Governor Spencer Cox publicly described it as a political assassination. Former President Donald Trump echoed that sentiment, saying the rhetoric that demonizes political opponents has to stop before more violence erupts. Other conservative leaders and personalities rallied around the same idea, pointing the finger at what they call a climate of hostility created by the left. On the other hand, Democratic leaders also condemned the killing, calling for unity, urging people not to jump to conclusions about motives, and warning about the escalating dangers of political violence across the spectrum. The university itself has been shaken to its core. Classes and events were canceled. The campus closed for several days. Students placed flowers and memorials on the site where Kirk was shot, marking not just grief but also fear. Fear that their campus could become the stage for political bloodshed. But the central question still lingers: why? Was this act driven by ideology? Was it a lone, unstable individual? Was it personal? At the moment, no one knows for sure. The writing on the cartridges suggests one narrative, but without confirmation, it could just as easily be a deliberate misdirection. Investigators haven't found evidence of credible threats made before the event, and Kirk's team had security measures in place. Yet the attack happened anyway. This raises another uncomfortable question. How do universities and public venues protect controversial speakers in today's climate? When someone as polarizing as Charlie Kirk comes to campus, the atmosphere is always heated. But if even heavy security cannot prevent a sniper-style attack, what does that say about the risks of open debate in America today? And then there are the broader implications. Political violence in the United States has been steadily rising. Threats against public officials, attacks on political figures, and now the assassination of a prominent activist. Each incident chips away at the foundations of democratic life. If public discourse turns into physical violence, if disagreement turns into assassination, then the very principle of democracy, the peaceful contest of ideas, begins to collapse. This isn't just an American problem. Around the world, people are watching. When democracy's most vocal nation finds its politics descending into bloodshed, it sends a dangerous message. Authoritarian regimes seize moments like this to argue that freedom of speech, open debate, and democratic systems are inherently unstable. In an interconnected world, what happens in America ripples outward, shaping foreign policy, alliances, and the way other nations perceive democratic governance. So where do we go from here? The investigation will continue. More forensic tests will be processed, more surveillance footage examined, more witnesses interviewed. The hope is that the person responsible will be identified and captured soon. If and when that happens, the world will learn more about their motives, their affiliations, and the deeper meaning behind this act. Legal proceedings will follow, with charges likely ranging from murder to domestic terrorism, depending on the evidence. But the political fallout is already here. In the coming weeks, expect heated debates not just about security and policing, but about rhetoric, polarization, and whether America is entering a dangerous new phase where politics is fought not just at the ballot box but with bullets. Supporters of Kirk will view him as a martyr. His critics will wrestle with how to condemn violence while continuing to challenge his ideas. And for ordinary Americans, the question becomes, is this what politics in our country has come to? As citizens, as participants in a democracy, we all have to reflect on our role in this climate. Are we feeding into the extremes? Are we tolerating language that paints our political opponents as enemies to be destroyed rather than fellow citizens to be debated? When the lines blur between speech and violence, society itself becomes fragile. Charlie Kirk's death is more than a headline. It's a tragedy that opens a window into the dangerous moment America is living through. The act itself was swift. One shot, one life ended. But the reverberations will last far longer. His absence leaves a void in conservative politics, yes, but it also leaves us with questions we cannot ignore. How did we get here? Could it have been prevented? And most importantly, how do we stop this trajectory before it spirals further? Charlie Kirk's story ended on a Utah campus, but the story of political violence in America is still unfolding. The choices made now, by leaders, by citizens, by all of us, will determine whether this was an isolated tragedy or the beginning of a much darker chapter in American democracy. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe, share this video with others who care about the future of democracy, and let me know in the comments, what do you think this assassination means for America? Was it inevitable in this polarized climate, or is there still a chance to turn things around before the divide grows even wider?